To speak about assessment innovations that reduce cheating and enhance learning, a title that was totally made up by these people. I just tell people I'll come and speak about whatever you'd like me to speak about. I want to make you understand I'm as blue collar as it gets. I never would have came up with that one. That's way above my pay grade. I'm just a geography teacher. That's what I do, and so I let them make up all the titles, and it's great because now I get to try to tailor what I was going to talk about and pretend it's this. Actually, I did tailor this a bit for innovations that reduce cheating because I just do what I do, and I've tailored my class. I tweak it every semester, pretty much every day, all the time. I'm trying to figure out the best way to get people excited and motivated about world politics and globalization and understanding what's happening on the planet. That's what fuels my fire. I want Americans and Canadians, but I want American kids to actually know what their government's doing, to actually understand what's happening. I think when you get a 4-year degree and walk out into the world, you actually should know what's happening in the world, regardless of what your specialty was while you were there for 4 years. So that's what gets me fired up, and I've never really thought about having people not cheat. I've never thought that I've been doing anything that ingenious. I just have said, well, I'm going to build stuff that tries to get people engaged. And over the long term of doing this for a decade and a half, I've come to realize, we've slowly been tweaking things that do try to engage people and therefore try to minimize cheating. It was never a conscious thought, but it's kind of gotten there. So with that in mind, with this awesome title in mind, I'll tell you a little bit about me first. I do teach really big classes that have started off 20 years ago. I started teaching to a standard class of like 50, and that was the biggest class in our department at the time. And demand grew, and I eventually went to the bigger lecture hall that held 550, and I did that for about a decade, and demand kept growing. And so as a lark, for fun, I said, what's the biggest venue we have outside the football stadium? And I'll try that next. What's the biggest venue we have? Because 3,000 people are trying to sign up for my class every semester, and this is preposterous. So let's just have one huge class, smash everybody in there, wipe out all demand at one time. The class will suck so bad, no one will want to take it anymore, and I'll be free to go back to regular classes. And so I believe this might have been a picture from the very first time we did it, from the first semester. This hall seats 2,875, and as you can see, it's a pretty decently full house. And the problem was that it accidentally worked, and people liked it. So the demand has, I would say, grown, but it's pretty much stabilized. If I taught any more people at Virginia Tech, I will have taught everybody within a 4-year cycle. So it's not quite over the top at that point yet. But the question is, I'm not sure how big your class is or how big a problem cheating is, but given this, you think you got cheaters? You think you've got a problem with people and academic integrity? Put a 0 behind the number you're cheating, or possibly 2, and start to amp up exponentially how many people may or may not be doing the right thing, may or maybe not be trying to game the system, may or may not be sharing answers and or providing work that's not theirs. So this is the background for why we have evolved out some things and some strategies that try to nip this in the bud or make it irrelevant or perhaps encourage it. So how do we do it here in a class of 3,000 sometimes? Well, just a little bit about the course. It is just a basic world regions course. Every geography department pretty much on the planet teaches a class called World Regions. They'll teach Physical Geography 101, Human Geography 101, and World Regions 101. I call it a brief introduction to the entire planet in one semester. Everything you should have already known from K through 12 education, but you don't, in one semester. It's totally impossible. Totally self-admitted it's impossible. So my real goal is to try to get people impassioned, engaged, and excited to want to be lifelong learners. That's really all I can do when I'm trying to teach about the whole world, and I'm doing it mostly to freshmen. And what I'm really doing is trying to make them curious for their whole life. So that's my major objective. And therefore, that's given me a lot of liberty to play around with how do I do that. Yeah, I can make them learn some facts. I can make them learn a bunch of information, and I can test them on a bunch of that stuff. But that's not my primary motivation. Maybe not everybody in the room has that liberty, but I do. So World Regions class, usually 2,500 to 3,000 in the fall, about 600 in the spring. I go back to the small classroom of 600 every spring. I also teach a class on wine in spring to another 600 people. So we end up, me and my small band of merry TAs end up doing, servicing 3,000 to 4,000 to 5,000 students in an academic calendar year. So the people at the top love me because they don't pay me much. So I'm a pretty good bang for their buck, which is why they allow me the liberty to do and experiment and kind of test things out. And if they don't work, well, we're willing to forgive Boyer because he pulls an awfully big plow. In the physical face-to-face meetings when we've done this for a couple, 3,000 people, this is what it looks like. It's a grandiose old classic kind of ballroom setting type of thing that was built in 1901, doesn't have central air. It's wonderful to teach there in August in Virginia in summertime with 3,000 people and no central air. We have 2 huge screens. Imagine this screen multiplied by 2 or 3 times with a couple different slideshows going. A regional tour will be happening on one, a more standard slideshow with notes happening on the other that follows my lecture. Sometimes we did movies where we brought 3,000 people into a room and watched international film. So it's a bit of a combination of different strategies to try to service this many people at one time. A lot of the testing, obviously, has to be automated. A lot of it's online. And I will go ahead and tell you, as I'm experimenting off now and into the future, I'm moving more and more online. Everybody says they want to come to class. Everybody, when polled, 100% of the people would say, I would prefer to see you speak live. And then 1 month into the semester, half of them don't show up. And I'm a pretty exciting guy, all right? So not to be too egotistical, but you swear you want it, you get in line to get it, your parents paid for it, then you don't take it. It's a phenomenon that is growing in this current age, and so it's one of the reasons that's pushed me more to provide this content online. I love teaching live, and you may love me teaching live, but if you're not coming, then we're having a disconnect, and this is not worthwhile to maybe half the students. So I'm tweaking, I'm manipulating, and seeing what we're doing, but this is the way we've done it live, and we developed a lot of these strategies, and we're continuing those strategies as we go into a more online environment. Just a couple more pictures of me lecturing up here. But as I suggested, we're increasingly going online to increase the opportunities and the flexibility for the students. But is that going to increase cheating opportunities? You're going to let 3,000 people do whatever they want by themselves? Actually, I just had a really sick thought of 3,000 young kids on the internet by themselves. I don't want to know what they're doing most of the time. But one would expect, if there's going to be no oversight, not even during a lecture, then wow, they're really going to go gangbusters and totally game the system and totally cheat. And that may be the case. But here's some of the ways that we're trying to get away from that, or at least demotivate people from doing that. And that is, I'm no genius and barely a professor. There's one genius, one professor up there. I'll let you choose which one. So all I can do is try to minimize and discourage that style of behavior. And for full disclosure, I'm a geography teacher. So I am not an instructional designer, a statistician, a researcher. I got nothing to prove anything that I'm getting ready to show you. I always have to tell an academic crowd that because there's somebody who's like, well, can you prove that? No, I can't. I don't know that this is the best way to do it. I can't even prove to you statistically it's a good way to do it. I'm just telling you that I am a canary in the coal mine, and this is what I'm doing. And when it completely falls flat on its face one semester, we don't do it again, or we try to tweak it. And if it works really well and we get good student feedback, then we do it again. So we should have people studying this class, but so far most people are just scared to death of it. And they're like, who's that Boyer guy? Well, whatever, just let him keep going. Give him as much line as he wants and let him do what he's going to do. So all I'm going to do right now is share what I've been doing with no great research background, statistical analysis of is it proper or not, because I'm assuming it's not. So strategy one for this gigantic class is give them options. And we've only done this for about 3 or 4 years. Even when we initially taught the class of 3,000 people, and that was 2007, I think, we were still kind of doing a standard syllabus. Here are some things, you will come do them. I will give you a grade for these things you do. And that became messy. Has anybody ever heard this excuse? Think deeply about all your years teaching. Has anybody ever had a grandmother die the night before a midterm or final exam? Isn't it eerie? Now imagine the stress and guilt that I have to live with when I am potentially getting ready to murder 3,000 grandmothers to give a single midterm exam. It's too much pressure. I can't handle that. So we started teaching this class the standard way, but however many excuses you've heard in class, put a 0 behind it, maybe 2 zeros behind it. And all of a sudden, logistically, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is a nightmare. We can't possibly do things the good old-fashioned way when you start to get numbers this big. Because grandmothers do die, and people do get sick. And when you're dealing with big numbers, you need a full-time person just to deal with that. And that was the reason, actually, for stuff. Let's give people options. Don't ask me for extra credit. Here's what I'm magically going to do. I'm going to wave a magic wand over my syllabus, and it's all extra credit. All extra credit all the time. It's all extra, and it's all for credit. I don't know why I had this genius idea. I'm sure I'm not the first, but this is what we've now implemented. And from a cheating standpoint, I think this is important because it's when you say you can do 20 different things in order to earn points, and I don't care which 20 you do, you immediately change the mentality from a zero-sum game to, oh, if I work, I get something. If I work, I get something. If I work harder, I get a little more. If I miss this thing, I can work on that thing. So if you think about a standard class, it's completely zero-sum. Here are the points. Here are the points. I ask people this, and that even smart academic people never get it. When do your students have the best grade in your class? When do students have the best grade in your class? When? The day it starts. The day it starts, everyone in the class has an A. Think about it. Everyone has a perfect score. And then what you, the instructor, are doing for the rest of the semester is finding devious ways to screw them out of points. You're going to put up hurdles. We'll call them assessments. You'll give them tests. You give them projects. And everything they do, they will lose something. Now, the reality is they're gaining something, but is that how humans interpret it? It's immediately interpreted, I lost. I didn't get a 99 on this test. I lost a point. Seriously, have you ever heard people, why did I lose this point? But you got a 99. But why did I lose? I wanted to win. And I'll also ask, what types of people in your classes at the end of the semester, usually the ones that complain the most about the grade they received? The A people, the B people, the C people, which ones? A people complain the most? I think it's B pluses, because they're so close. The B pluses are so close. Why didn't you give me this A? So anyway, I've already now waxed too poetic on this one slide. What I've done is say, I'm going to give you options, because in our ultra-large class philosophy, the instinct would be to treat it like boot camp, that you're going to try to run. Oh, you have so many people to deal with. Well, you better standardize it. You better make it super strict so that everybody falls in the line. Otherwise, you're going to have all these excuses and all this mess. That's the instinct. But I typically go against instinct. I already knew that I would be risking the lives of hundreds of grandmothers and all of the other stuff that I had to deal with. So I said, no, we're not going to overstructure. We're actually going to take the opposite approach with this many people. We're going to have maximum flexibility in the assignments. We're going to have maximum flexibility in communications. That is, this whole generation of people now speak different languages. And when we were growing up, you either spoke English or Chinese or French, and now they speak Twitter or Facebook or Reddit is the new language. Anybody on Reddit yet? Reddit is the language, or Snapchat, or whatever the hell they're doing nowadays. These are all basically languages in terms of these are tribes of people who are communicating in this way that you don't understand. And so I've said, no, I get you speak different languages. I'm going to try to break into those tribes and speak that language too so that you get where we're going with this. I've also wanted to promote increased interactions among all players. Yes, I'm the smart guy in the front of the room, but I think that maybe if you talk to other people in the class, you'll gain information and maybe even knowledge, maybe even skills. If I can facilitate 3,000 people working together as opposed to 3,000 people all just asking me the same question or wanting the same sort of attention. In essence, we want to evolve from a rigid top-down military-style structure to more decentralized, user-defined, and honestly, believe it or not, a personalized experience. And I won't say I've been successful every semester, and I certainly wouldn't say that I've been successful with every student, but I can tell you with 100% confidence, we have created personalized experiences for people in these absolutely morbidly gigantic classes. That people have walked away and written me letters saying, best class I ever took, I'm a changed person, I changed my major, I'm joining the Peace Corps, I'm doing this. We've had classes where people walked out crying because they were so emotionally touched by something that happened. And so I'm really not this egotistical. I do all this because I want people to have a great experience and learn something and get excited. But I'm telling you from a non-egotistical perspective that somehow we're able to pull off a personalized experience in a gigantic classroom. And I'm willing to bet you've had super small classes where nobody got that. I'm willing to bet you've been in super small classes where nobody got what they feel was a personalized experience. So I don't think everybody should teach big classes. On the contrary, I love the college system. It's pretty close to where I think it should be. You want individualized attention in specialty classes. I think small classes are great for some content, but I think big classes could be great for other types of content. And I think it's all about the experience you give the student. We need to get off our high horses with this assumption, well, I teach a small class, so it's good. No. The size does not mean quality of anything. You meeting some sort of standardized goals is not a sign of quality of anything. Our whole system has been structured. Everything we measure, in my opinion, does not mean it's a good class for the student perspective. So I'm experimenting. I have no idea if I'm doing it right, but there are people who are walking out getting what I think that they should be getting out of a college class. Not all of them. You can't save them all. Right? Some people, I can get up there and juggle fire and chainsaws and somebody be snoring in the front row. You can't save them all. But we're going to do what we can for those that do want to get engaged and do want to get that material and are excited and motivated about being in college. Thus, now I'm starting to do the typical bad PowerPoint presentation where I'm giving you a whole bunch of stuff. You don't have to write any of this stuff down. I know you weren't, but we're going to provide, I always provide the slideshow at the end, so you can get all these notes if you care to have them. But this system is learner-centered to allow students to engage and learn in ways best suited to them. They're all coming from different places. My class is actually quite unique in that it's all academic levels, all majors, all age groups, all socioeconomic backgrounds. When you have 3,000 people, I got them all of them. So I have to create something that's kind of user-based. I don't know what their knowledge level is. I don't know what their attitude is. So I try to build something that can be approached by everyone. Students are treated as individuals, and this is actually, I think, one of the most critical parts. I try to instill on them that they're taking ownership over this class. I'm not holding your hand. I'm not going to tell you to take the weekly quiz. I'm not giving you a midterm and a final. I'm not giving you a paper worth your entire grade because you fixate on that, and that becomes the thing that you're supposed to do, and you put all those eggs in that basket, or you just wait around to do that thing. And I'm saying in my system, you ain't got to do nothing. You ain't got to do nothing. Do nothing. You'll fail, okay? You got to do something. But it's up to you. And what this does is, again, it flips the tables, and students have to, from the start, say, oh, I have to choose. I have to take responsibility for what I'm going to do in this class. Yes, I'm telling you, you have to take ownership over the assignments you're going to do. It's up to you. I'm giving you maximum flexibility. I'll go ahead and skip to the end because I never get to the end of slideshows. This tremendously troubles a lot of students because they've been trained for K through 12 years of training being told what to do, and then you send them off to college where they can drink, and they don't have a curfew for the first time in their life, and they're then supposed to do it all themselves in the classroom. It's actually quite a bit to ask of humans that are 18 years old. And so I understand, and I try to coach them right up front. Mom and Dad ain't here. You will totally fail this class unless you step up right now. This is an introductory level class, but you got to step up from the get-go and own it. It's your class. What are you going to do with it? It's very hard. Some people just say, but when do I show up for the finals? Because if I do nothing all semester, I can still come scratch something out in the final and get something. And in my class, nope, you get nothing for that. It will not help you at all. You actually have to work and be a part of this. Incorporates, this is getting to more technology fun stuff, incorporates social networking technologies to build community, at least I'm trying, which builds engagements, social presence in and out of the classroom, which for anybody who's thinking about going to online classes, it's always out of the classroom. So you have to be thinking what strategies and what communication devices are going to use that people are into right now, so that they remain in the game. Creates a positive feedback loop to empower students when it comes to assessment. Every student in every class I've taught for 5 years knows their grade every second of every day the entire semester because they're building up. I'm not taking away. I've got nothing to do with it, honestly. Nothing. I've presented a series of tasks. You do tasks, you get points. If you're failing my class, who's to blame? Everybody knows it's you, and they never have to ask me what their grade is. Right there it is. It's on the website. Everything you do, it clicks in. It just keeps tallying up on the calculator. You know all the time. So there's that sense of awareness that people have that we've found is quite helpful, keeping people in this game because they know they got to keep going. How do we do it? Initially, by the way, I'm still on number 1. For those still keeping score, I'm still on strategy number 1. And the bottom line for this is what I call flipping the syllabus. I totally made this up. I stole it from Flipping the Classroom, but I'd like to think that I copyrighted this about 5 years ago. So if you ever hear this anywhere before, again, say, oh yeah, Boyer, he copyrighted that. He made up this flipping the syllabus idea. And of course, it's based on the Flipping the Classroom idea. I assume everyone in the room already knows what this is. The idea that you assign the readings and or the lectures and or whatever information you want people to absorb outside of the class time, and therefore you spend the class time actually communicating, like what professor types are supposed to do, communicating and engaging. So I take that one step further. We already have this online Donkey Kong is what I say. I'm already been moving, slowly migrating to online, which means I'm providing all of my content, all of the information I want these humans to know. You can get it all on day 1. I've started to record my lecture series. I'm still not even halfway through because it's a hell of a lot of work. But I've done a lecture on the Middle East and done a lecture on Japan and done a lecture on world economics. And these lectures are 2 or 3 or 4 hours long. By the way, they're broken into pieces. I can get to that in a second. But this content is already up. You can go, and by the way, it's free. Everything I do is free, open, public, I don't care. Virginia Tech can sue me if they don't think they're making enough money off me. But it's used for my course, but I provide everything I've ever done completely for free online. So the students, before they even get into class, can start watching the videos. And some of them do, by the way. Those really anal high school kids with a 4.0 who really want to do great in college, some of them started to hit me up 2 or 3 weeks before semester started this year. It was great. And I'm like, you want to work? Here you go. We're ready to get to work. And their parents were watching it with them. And hell, the parents are paying for it, so the parents should get to watch the lecture. So I've now started to record my entire lecture and put it completely online for free all the time. and it's under Professor Lectures on the Platt Avenger site if you care to go to it. And you'll see me. This is my professorial look, by the way. I like to semi-mock our profession, so anytime you see me in a wool jacket with arm patches and a pipe, that's for dramatic effect because I like to poke some fun at us to make us more human to students. So this is my professor look with a nice bottle of Chianti, and the whole lecture outline is up there, and if you click on any single lecture, it will take you to, say, the introductory lecture, and each one of these hot link things is another piece of the lecture. Because we live in a YouTube world, I have attempted to tap into that window of people paying attention. So I can take a 4-hour lecture, and as long as I break it into 15 to 20-minute segments, people seem to be pretty cool with it. I can make you watch, it's like watching TV now. Everybody taps into Netflix and watches the whole series of a show in one sitting. And they do that for my lecture now. So I'm trying to mimic pop culture behavior. I'm like, okay, so that's how you watch True Blood? All right, let me see if I can produce a lecture that would be that intriguing. And suddenly 7 hours have elapsed and you've watched me lecture instead of watching crappy TV. Okay, it's great TV, but that seems to be a model that students actually enjoy. Don't know why. And of course, some slacker students would wait till the day before the test and then seriously watch 7 hours of lecture of me. I say, that's gross. My mother wouldn't even watch me for 7 hours. The very first time I gave a midterm exam in the class of 3,000 people, I had people walking in. We did it in a controlled environment, this big room that holds 700 computers. And so people were filtering in, and I was there greeting them, going, hey, I'm your professor. So come on in, take the exam. And people were like, oh, I can't even listen to you. I can't hear your voice right now. It makes me sick. I just watched you for 8 hours. I can't do it. Like, okay, you shouldn't have done that, but okay. So if you click on any of these, it'll actually be me lecturing and pop-up graphics and stuff like that. And of course, iTunes is awesome. So we were one of the first universities to jump into iTunes U. So we just upload everything to iTunes U for free as well. So people can watch it on the bus, in the library, in their dorm room, in their bedroom, whatever these people want to do. They can access my class from anywhere. Therefore, I no longer ever hear requests that they couldn't hear my lecture because they were sick. Or their grandma died for the 10th time. Or they had to go on a trip. Oh, but I'm on the football team and we have to go to Alabama. I say, that's fine. They have internet in Alabama, I think. I think they do. So that has eliminated, it's not cheating, but it's eliminated a whole bunch of excuse baggage. It's up to you to access it whenever you want. It's there. And so we now are working towards, I'm still doing kind of a hybrid model where I do a little bit here and a little bit there, but we're working towards a time that we only bring the class together for something special. Not that lecture is not special, but the logistics of trying to get several thousand people together make it enough work that you want to do something different. You can hear me talk online, or I'll come to your dorm room and talk. Talking is talking. We do special events like Skype with Aung San Suu Kyi from Burma just 2 weeks after she was let out of house arrest. Or had Martin Sheen and Emilio Estevez come to our class and screen a movie they just put out. Or even student events where students in the Bhangra Club, which is a type of dance from Kashmir, they said, hey, I did a lecture on India, and they came up and said, can we do something in class? And I said, certainly you can do something in class. So it's that type of thing that I love the college university experience, because that's what it's really all about, is bringing people together to experience new things they ordinarily would not. So even though I'm going online, I'm all about brick and mortar university, just to be perfectly clear. I think we need to tweak why people are going to the university, but I think it's the greatest thing humans have ever come up with. And that's why I bring people together for special events that they need that kind of interactive live space. Lectures, not so much anymore. So now flipping the syllabus. You can read all that if you like to, but I'll just point out some of the highlights here. It's logistically more feasible for large groups, working professionals, and online classes, which we hope inevitably will be teaching a class from all around planet Earth. And actually, when I taught online this summer, I only had about 150 people in the class, but there was 2 people from Saudi Arabia in there, 2 people from Norway, several students who were doing a study abroad in China, And so it was like, oh, wow, I hadn't thought about that. We need to tailor things so that people can do them at their own pace because they could be 12 hours away or a working professional or need to do this at night or in the middle of the day. So it's logistically more feasible. It focuses on point accumulation rather than deduction, and just from a very simplistic standpoint, it's positive versus negative reinforcement. You take my class, you're only going to do better. You're only going to do better because you ain't done squat on day one, so you got nothing. Now do something. Show me something. Work on it. And I'm going to give you something. Little treat here, little treat there. We'll call them points. And everybody wants something, little positive feedback all the time. Everything you do, you see it tally up. Versus what we've already talked about, everything you do in a standard class is only an opportunity to lose. Sorry to put it so bleakly, but it's true. They can only lose unless they're perfect. Unless the student is perfect, scores perfect on every test and every project, then they're going to lose. So you're either perfect or you're a loser. That's a bizarre way to approach a class, but we all do it. We've done it for centuries. And finally, encourages individual expression / creativity and empowers the user with choice. And don't we all say that we like choice? I think we do. We all, it seems like, given opportunity to not be told you're going to do this, that most people would say, yeah, well, thank you. I'll take the choice. I'll live in a democracy. This sounds good. I like that. So we do the flipped syllabus, and now I can finally get off of this one thing because this is the flipped syllabus that we did for the very first time, like I said, 4 years ago. And that is, it's a system that actually provides you way more points than you need to get an A. Certainly way more than you need to even pass. So you can choose to do weekly quizzes and or a midterm or a final or a leader's exam or an out-of-class paper or Atlas quizzes. There's a whole slew of things. For full disclosure, this is the first time that I did this, so there's a whole bunch of options. This got unruly. So we've tweaked it over the years and shortened the list according to what worked and what didn't work. Full disclosure, and it's a test. Some things were just a nightmare, and some things everybody tried to do them and they did them all wrong. And when 100 people do something wrong, you're like, oh gosh. So this was the original kind of, here's what you can do. And in total, if you did every single thing, you would have scored 2,000 to 2,500 points. But you only need 1,080 to get an A, 940 to get a B. Really, it was a scenario that is set up that the only way you can fail, well, I'll ask you folks, you're pretty smart people. People do fail this class. How could you fail this class? There's only one way. Just don't do anything. Literally, just don't do anything. Or do it so badly, or just wait till the last minute, you can't do it. Because here are now some of the intricacies of this system that I should clue you in before you run out to adopt it. Everything is timed. So it's 2,000 points total, but you can only earn about 100 to 150 a week. That's it. You can't wait until the last week and try to earn 2,000 points. So it's more of a weekly point opportunity. Possibility. You can earn 200 points this week, and you can earn 200 points next week, and you can earn 200 points the week after that, but you can't earn 2,000 points in the last week. You've already missed those opportunities. So it's not that this is entirely wide open and people are just like, woo, all over the place, doing whatever. It's very structured, actually. So I'll say you got to watch these videos this week and take tests on them. And you have to read these book chapters this week, take a quiz on it. And we're going to have a film that's this week. If you want the points for the film, it's this week. It's not every week, it's this week. So there are a variety of things that are happening every week that you have to stay engaged and in the game in order to earn the points to get the grades you want. I take your question, this may say this, it's kind of like work, like having a job. And even though I'm not much into job training, I do not believe college education is job training, I am actually kind of training them to be productive on a daily basis. And I won't call that a job, I call that being a good person. So that's why I do it. Yes?
You still hear from people who wanted to do last week's assignment but were unavailable?
That's the beauty of it. You wanted to do it last week, but it's gone. That's okay. There's a whole new week with a whole bunch of more points.
With the same array of choices?
Yep. I'd say roughly sometimes there's more point opportunities, sometimes a little bit less, but on average, you're looking at 150 to 200 points possible a week. And again, some of it's structured. So we say, now you're going to watch this video. You could watch all the video lectures on day one if you want. But for this week, you have to watch a lecture on Japan, and the quizzes for Japan are available only this week. And the book chapter on Japan is available only this week. I'm glad you asked, because I'm actually starting to tweak this already for hard workers. So there are some students that say, but I want to do more, I want to do more. I want to go, put me in, coach, put me in. I want to go. I have all this other work to do in my classes next week, so can I do more now? So this is the first semester I said, you know what, why not? So on day one, we put all of the book reading quizzes for the whole semester up and live. So the first week of class, you could read my entire book and take all 13 quizzes. And they're not easy. If you want to do it, go for it. And you can earn 400 points on the very first week of class. And we're thinking about making other things even more flexible, but most of it's paced. We want to give people that structure enough so that it's paced, one, so they don't wait for the last minute, but also so they, again, feel like they're engaged in a class. If you could do it all in 24 hours, it wouldn't be much of a class, and you probably wouldn't learn as well. So we're going to allow you to do some stuff, the flexibility to get ahead if you want, but most of it's week to week. Yes? I had not thought until you just said this, and I just instantaneously created this analogy in my head because I'm just that good. It's like watching a marathon. It's identical to watching a marathon. There's a group of really good runners, and they are all in competition with each other, and they finish in 2 hours. Then there's the bulk, and they'll finish an hour after that. Then there's another bulk that finishes 2 after that, and then you're just straggling. The ticker tape's already been taken down by the last 25% of the race, and so people will finish, but we see, we haven't done a huge analysis of this, but if given the opportunity, there are some people that will finish 3 weeks before the semester is over. And it's a growing percentage, it's great. And you know why it is? Is it because they're really anal? Is it because they just want to get the class over with? Is it because they just have nothing better to do? No, we know this because they tell us they're engaged. They love it. And so this is only week 7 of our semester, and I've already had people ask me in the office hours, can we get more than 1,000 points? Do we get a bonus if I get 2,000 points? And so they're asking me to game my own system. And I'm like, well, I hadn't thought about it. How about a dinner date with me for 2,000 points and above? I'm thinking about actually putting in other stuff that might motivate people to continue because, and again, this was just last week, several people said, I'm doing so well in this class, I'm going to be finished by Thanksgiving, but I want to keep doing it. And I say, well, keep doing it. That's what we're here for. The first tier of runners, they're always the best and they're always the funnest, but it's the bulk that we're looking for. And the bulk of the marathoners, they actually finish in really good time too. They finish in pretty good time. We have seen the straggler segment get smaller and smaller every semester because people start to get it more. You know, we've been doing this for about 5 years now, and maybe it's just a cultural curve, but people now tell other students how the class works. So the very first semester, we did have 20 people who outright failed, and came up and said, as an excuse why I failed, I didn't know how the system worked, so it's not my fault. And I'm a pretty amiable guy, but I just laugh. I always find the best way to deal with really weird excuses is just die laughing. Like literally, oh my God, you did that. That's hilarious. You didn't know how the class worked, and you didn't say anything for 3 months. Usually they've left by that point. And that's the end of that. But I think we've been around long enough that people get it. So It's great. Motivated people, and people engaged in the material, finish fast. People who actually, those super professional engineering types, who are just taking this because they got to take it, you know what? They have the opportunity to get out quick too. And while I prefer you to be engaged, you do all the work because of your own motivations, that's cool with me too. I can't please everybody. We will get to another slide. Or if it's time to quit, just tell me. So anyway, I now will. You want more points? I'll give you more points. It's also great because no one has to ask me for extra credit anymore, which they still do. People say, can I get an extra credit? And I'm like, everything's extra credit. It's all extra. It's just credit. So it's, again, the cultural lag, it still takes a little bit of time for newer students. But all this works in tandem to allow more flexibility in assignments so people can do what they're best at to prove themselves. And again, this probably sounds very idealistic for someone teaching physics or hardcore math, but I'm telling you, those systems are going to change too. You're going to find out ways to game those systems. And doesn't it make sense if you're teaching some high-end math course that on day one you provide a system that if somebody already knows all this stuff, well, test out. Test out, but you're going to test out with work. I'm not a fan of testing. I'm getting rid of midterms and finals, actually. Not a fan. You think you know all this high equation math? Then sit down and prove it. And I ain't talking about a test. I'm talking about doing something. Work. Show me some stuff that shows inherently you understand this algorithm, whatever this class is about. And you can do that by demonstrating some work, then go about your merry way. Get on to your next class. Obviously, that's not most people. So there should be other ways to test their knowledge level and let them prove what they know to you. Because some people like to write. I don't know if this is filtered up to Canada yet, but young people don't like to write anymore. They're terrified of writing. So I understand if I made a writing assignment for 3,000 people, what a disaster that will be if I make you write. And 90% of the people would rather have teeth extracted. But 10% of you like to write. So I got a writing assignment for you. Some of you are terrible at taking exams. You get all clenched up and nervous. We have exams, but you ain't got to take them. Not good with tests? Then do something else. I'm trying to provide enough opportunities so that you can't say, well, I'm bad at everything, so I can't do anything. Well, maybe you shouldn't be at college then, all right? Maybe we need a life reassessment if you can't do anything, but I'm going to try to provide you with the opportunity to demonstrate knowledge to me. And that's really all I'm here for. So now I'll get to some of the particulars, and I've already gotten to some of these spouting for the first 45 minutes here. But some of the exercises, the assessments specifically now from the syllabus, and how you can structure things to prevent cheating. Let's just call a spade, to prevent cheating. Strategy 2 that I have to prevent cheating is to encourage them to cheat themselves to death. Meaning, because I deal with so many people, because I'm going online, a lot of the assessments are automated. It is multiple choice, it's true, false, it's fill in the blank, it's testing. It's old school testing. And so one would think if you allow people to do this online, they'll have open books, they'll work with other people, they'll find an answer key, they'll cheat their asses off. And you're probably right. Because remember, we've trained them that this is a zero-sum game, and you must win. If I was back in college, I'd cheat too. Maybe I did, now that I think about it. If all you're doing is answer me a bunch of questions and I just have to click some buttons, yeah, fine. Is there a way I can get around this? Yes, I want to find that way. So what I've done is say, okay, for the book reading quizzes, and there's a weekly quiz every week, starts on Sunday or Friday afternoon for week 1, and it ends the following subsequent Friday afternoon at 5. You know, kind of like work. The work week. So we'll say, okay, you have to read chapters 1 and 2 or 3 and 4. And for this week, chapters 5 and 6, you go click on the quiz and you take it. And it presents you with a bunch of multiple choice. So what students do, if you don't know this already, is they go to any number of websites which have every test you've ever given your entire life. If you think I'm exaggerating because I'm crazy, that's fine. Live in your blissful ignorance. Let me say this again. Every paper test and online test you have ever given, ever, is available for someone right now on the web. All of them, including the brand new one you made last year. Don't fool yourselves. It's not even that hard to find. There are now businesses dedicated to note sharing, if you didn't know this already. Businesses helping students get these things. You know what? It's not even that much a terrible crime, I guess, because if you went to an Ivy League school, which I didn't, you would have found that you get into a fraternity or sorority and they have a closet somewhere that has all of the paper copies of every exam that every professor's ever given. So this isn't even terribly novel or new, but it's online now, which means even the lower schools can do this, not just the Ivy League. And it's an institutional memory that's permanent, accessible everywhere all the time. I'm going to say it again because some of you don't believe me. Every test you've ever given is available with the answer key. If you've used a test more than 2 years, you're wasting your time. Probably there's a group of people in the class that already have the exact copy when they walk in. Even essay exams too, by the way. For those of you that think you're smarter than multiple choice, they got the answers for the essay exams too. Hit this point and this point and this point and say it this way. That's what this professor wants, right? So given that mentality, what I do for the book reading quizzes, which are weekly, is I encourage you to cheat. It's open book, it's open notes. Take it with friends, take it with family. I don't care. Sit around in a group and discuss it. Because you know what, that almost sounds like school. Sit around in a group and discuss my chapter, and all of you take it at the same time and share answers with each other. I don't care, because here's the deal. If 10 people are sitting in a room taking this test all at the same time, they're actually getting 10 different tests. Because I've made the test question bank gigantic, and it's random. It randomizes the question, it randomizes the answers. So you can share with your neighbor, but she's got a different test than you've got. And what students learned early on when they started to game the system, and they will game every system, is that, oh, it's an online test, it's multiple choice. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to add this. You can take it as many times as you want. Take it as many times as you want with open books, with family and friends. So the immediate logic is, well, just go click on the, click answers. I'm going to give you 15 or 20 questions at a time. Easy. Click, I'll go in and click till I get the right one. Write down the right ones. Try again on the wrong ones. Click, 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 click. Refresh. Click, 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 click. Refresh. Wait a minute. Shit, these are different questions. Click, click, click. I haven't seen that one. Click, refresh. Crap, there's 20 new questions. And I say, yeah, if you want to spend the time to answer 150 questions instead of 20, I applaud you. You will spend so much time when you could have just read the chapter and on your first or second attempt gotten a perfect score. And students figure this out. The number one comment we got after teaching the big classes for several years, the number one student comment is, and we specifically phrase on the teacher assessment, we say, if you could tell an incoming freshman who's getting ready to take this class one thing, what would you tell them? And the number one response is, just read the damn book. Oh my God. I spent hours clicking through that damn weekly quiz. Just read the book. So encourage them to cheat to death. Because if they cheat to death, they're going to see every question, know every answer. They're probably going to learn more than they have to. And as a teacher, I got no problem with that. So go for it. This is a non-time test, so you can actually take 2 hours sitting there taking it if you want. There, you can go look up the questions if you want. It's asynchronous, which means anybody in the class can take it throughout this week-long period that they want to. They can take it together if they like. It does have unlimited availability, but even though now we're going to put all of the tests online on the very first day, we're still going to have one of them disappear every week. So quiz 1 disappears after week 1, quiz 2 disappears after week 2. So you can work ahead, but you can't get behind, and you can take it as many times as you want. So by all means, cheat yourself to death. Strategy 3 Encourage them to multitask themselves to death. I know this sounds really terrible the way I phrase these things, but for the video lecture quizzes, and again, this is online and it's automated, so you have to watch this week. Actually, you have to watch lectures on Japan 1, 2, 3, and 4 lectures. They're numbered. And then you'll go take those subsequent quizzes. So you'll probably watch an hour's worth of me lecturing and then go take quiz 1. You can watch the lecture 20 times if you want. You can take notes. When you go take the quiz, you can have the lecture open live if you like. You can have a Japanese historian in the room with you if you like. You can do that with family and friends if you like. But here's the catch. With these tests, because remember, I'm basically videoing myself. So this is in place of a live lecture. So they have to watch about 2 to 3 hours of video lecture. So I'm treating it as a live lecture. For these quizzes, they're available all week. You can take them whenever you want, but you only got one shot at it. Uh-oh, that ups the ante. That's serious. Only get one shot at it. Yes, only one shot, and it's timed. So depending on how many questions it is, typically 20, you only get 10 minutes to take it. Take it any time during this week, but once you click start, you got 10 minutes and you only got one shot at it. So we're basically prepping the student of, this one's more serious and you actually need to watch the lecture video, because here's how students will game the system. Well, I'll let my friends take it and watch and see what questions they get. That's fine. Click, 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 click. They got a 6 out of 10. Next friend, click, click, click. Hey, that's a different test. Yep, we pulled the same trick. It's a really big question pull for starters. But you could continue to game it. Maybe you have 20 friends. You wait for them to all take it. Or you're just going to not watch it at all and let the video play while you're trying to take a 10-minute test. Or, and this is the main one, you'll have Google open, and every question you'll go try to Google the answer. And I say do all of those things and have a Japanese historian in there and someone making sushi. I don't care what you're doing. Overtask yourself trying to cheat this, because I ask a combination of general knowledge and very specific questions about things that I talked about just in this lecture, and I know how to write questions that aren't Googleable. And every question doesn't have to be not Googleable, but if you throw in about every third or fourth one that you can't find an answer for on the web, then you're screwed. And students figure that out. Like, well, I'll just look up all the answers. I can do this in 10 minutes because I'm a multitasker. By the way, that's a lie. None of them are multitaskers. Hasn't every study proven that multitasking is? So I say, oh, you want to cheat by multitasking? Go for it, because I know you can't do it. But if you want to try, go for it. And you'll lose. The other thing is, so it's timed. It's asynchronous during the week. It's timed. It does have limited availability because you can only do it once. And then here's the other kicker. It's a threshold. Threshold grade is what I call it. Meaning you have to get above 50% for your score to count at all. And I assume in a 20 multiple choice question exam about a lecture where you just watched me speak, maybe 10 times, with open notes, I have to make the assumption if you can't get half of them right, you actually didn't watch it. That could be a false assumption sometimes, and I understand, but it's the assumption that I stick by. So again, the ante for this is up so much that people are like, holy crap, I should just watch it. I could try to cheat, but that's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to try and cheat. I just watch it. The threshold thing makes it, again, very serious in terms of, again, you're not losing. I'm not stealing points from you. I'm telling you up front, I want you to earn these points, but if you can't demonstrate the knowledge, then you can't get the points. It's as simple as that. You haven't failed this test. You just failed this particular piece. And I can't give you something for that. I haven't taken away, but I can't give you something. Okay? So that's multitask themselves to death. And again, I've done this in the past for midterm exams and final exams, and even something I call world leader exams. So I make people actually learn world leader faces, which apparently never happens anywhere in education. I'm the only one. I don't know why. And I think it's important to know the prime ministers and presidents that make all these policies that affect the rest of us on the planet. So I teach different things, and in the old way, when I would do midterms and finals, and even this world leader, I'll do them online, but I actually make them extremely short term, and they're synchronous. So a third or fourth way now that you can prevent cheating in an online environment is you make it the same time. Synchronous means they all got to take it from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock on Thursday afternoon, and that's that. So in asynchronous, they may wait for 10 of their friends to take the test and try to get the answer. They can still try that with synchronous, but the time frame is so short. The pressure is so on. And by the way, I talk candidly with students, and they do try to cheat everything. And they'll tell me, oh my God, it's the pressure. I'm trying. We have 1 hour. And what if the internet connection messes up? My Google messes up, and I'm trying to look at 3 different people taking this exam. It was way too much work. Way too much work. I'm like, good. There you go. That's what we're hoping for. So making it synchronous it takes a lot of gameplay out of it. And the shorter the time frame, the tougher it is. So synchronous makes it tough. Making it an hour makes it tough. Making it a half hour makes it twice as tough. Again, we have lots of people with learning disabilities and ADD and lots of things in today's world, so we have to make allowances. But as a general strategy, we're sticking by it, and it works pretty good. By the way, video and visuals are super hard to Google and or cheat. Think about how to Google this question. Which one of these people does Osama bin Laden hate the most? This is before Osama bin Laden was killed, all right? So go Google that. You have to know the 5 people from a site. And you have to know what I was talking about in lecture. You can't find that answer. I'm the one who told you the answer doesn't exist anywhere else. So again, this might not apply to everything you do, but that's the mentality of the way you have to think. If you're going to assess people, then asking them facts don't work no more, because facts abound. Information is cheap and it's instantaneous. So if it's anything you can Google, trust me, they already have. Go Google your own test sometime. Just put in your questions and see how fast you get the answer. And assume they're doing it faster than you. And maybe that's not the best way to ask that question. If you have a direct question from your test and you put it in Google and the very first hit is exactly the answer, you shouldn't use that question anymore. Not online, not in any environment where people can get to a device. Because guess what? They can also get to their device in the classroom anymore too, which people are going to increasingly do. Just wait for Google Glass to keep evolving. They're just going to be looking at the answers on their glasses while they're in your class taking the damn test. So that's why I'm trying to game the system out before we get to that point of all information is instantaneously available to you all the time. My questions, I hope, make you think about stuff that you've learned. They're not Googleable. Strategy 4, make it not scheduled. And for those of us that are old enough, we used to call that a pop quiz. There ain't no way to cheat them. They are what they are. Hey, guess what? Right this second, I'm going to ask you a question. Right this, though in class, those are still, to me, the impossible to cheat. There's no way to game a pop quiz because you haven't told anybody to prep for it. So if you actually really want to know someone's knowledge level, pop quiz them. It's true in life, right? Up on the street, put a microphone in someone's face and ask them a question. They either know it or they don't. And that's that. So how can I do that in a class of 3,000? In a digital world, I call it a flash quiz. It makes it kind of sound clever and cool. Flash, like a flash mob, or a flash this. I say it's a flash quiz. There's no such thing as pop quizzes. That's old school. It's a flash quiz. So online, I will do podcasts on current events, because that's kind of what a lot of stuff I teach. And the podcast may be anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes. This was one, actually, the most latest one I did was on protest in Hong Kong. So I did a 25-minute talk on Hong Kong, and then I told the class, okay, I just did this. It's available right now for you to watch, and tomorrow at 3:30, from 3:30 to 4 p.m., there will be a 10-question quiz. Watch this, go take the quiz. That's that. I've done it with a shorter window. I mean, like 3 hours from now, there's a pop quiz. Go watch this, and it's only a 5-minute quiz. Good luck. So keep narrowing it down. And again, this is asynchronous, half-hour window, very time limited, only one attempt, grade threshold. You just got to watch it to get the grade. That's that. That's the flash. That still works anywhere on the planet, even in kindergarten, even with a pen and pencil. What I found that I love about this flash quiz is that my students actually love it more than anything else I'm doing. And here's why it's bizarre, is that I consider it that I'm tricking them into learning more stuff. So again, in a point accumulation system, I can give 100 of these a semester and students will ask me for more. I swear to God, I'm not making this up. I've told academic crowds this and they think I'm just full of it. Because I'm telling you, I'm teaching in class in college and people are asking me for more work. They're asking me for more quizzes. And when I invented this, I did it for fun because I felt like I hadn't offered enough points about 3 years ago. And I said, well, how can we, let's schedule in something, but I don't want to do something regular or introduce a whole new assignment. I'll just do this thing, call it pop quiz. It's got nothing to do with the lecture material for this week, but it's something to do with current events. And people eat it up. Maybe it's because of the way they consume media. Maybe because they can watch it on their iPhones on the bus. Maybe because they can watch it on an iPhone and take the test on their iPhone in someone else's class. Because students have told me they did it to brag. They're like, I just took Boyer's quiz in a physics class. It was awesome. All right, it's cool. And this is information above and beyond the knowledge base that I was going to do for that semester. And I can do them all day long. And I could pull out my computer right now and show you 20 emails of people asking me to do another one and asking me to do one on certain topics. So it may not be 3,000 people, but the people that like this love it and they want more of it. And I'm like, well, I think that's good. I'm a college professor and people want me to lecture to them more. It's so bizarre, it does make you laugh. You're like, you want more? Okay. Usually people applaud when they don't get class. Isn't that bizarre? Have you ever canceled class and everybody's like, ah? And that's happened to me enough times that I've come to understand, you do understand that education is the only commodity you pay a bunch of money for and you're glad that you don't get it. My parents paid $30,000 tuition and you're not going to teach me? Yes! Holiday. All right. Would you be happy if I took your car back from you? Kind of weird. Anyway, continued dialogue. I expanded taggable content because I can tag these for certain things and then they congregate. And what's great about the podcast and you all creating your own video lectures is that I've done this for about 5 years now. Not being egotistical, but it's awesome. It's suddenly turning into an awesome resource for me. I had somebody ask me just last week some bizarre question about an uprising in Kyrgyzstan. They said, Professor Boyer, I'm studying this in this other class. What happened with Kyrgyzstan in like 2010? There was some big uprising. And it was something about an ethnic genocide that was happening. And when they asked me this, I said, that rings a bell. That sure rings a bell. I'm like, hang on, can you send me an article or something your professor told you about this so I can try to remember? And by the time he sent me a newspaper article, I recognized the article and I remembered I had done a 30-minute podcast on it. I went back to my own archive and I said, here's the answer. And they're like, cool, I just wrote my paper based on your podcast. And my professor liked it. I'm like, okay, thanks. So what's awesome about it is not that I saved myself time, it's that I saved myself a ton of time. And if you tag the stuff, then you start to build a body of work. So now I've got 10 podcasts of random things in Central Asia that I can then go reference and tie together. I encourage all professors to video themselves for posterity's sake. If you would spend a year of your life fully recording every lecture you're going to do, think about how powerful that is. That one, you have freed up your time for the next 10 years of not lecturing to perhaps do other things, which is nice. 2, students can watch it anytime they want and 10 times if they want. You don't have to come lecture to them again. 3, and this is the more funny one for posterity, not posterior, your grandkids could watch you. Your great-grandkids could watch you. Your great-great-great-grandkids could watch you lecture. From beyond the grave. It's kind of pretty cool when you think about it. And number 4, you can go back and critique yourself. You in creating a video lecture series, it's a lot of work. But then you can step back from it in a year or two and say, oh, now that's changed, or I need to tweak that. That's not the way I feel about that anymore. Oh, I didn't explain that very well. You can also judge a lot better from student scores on a test. If everybody misses this certain section of a physics lecture that you gave, they've all seen the exact same thing. semester to semester, okay? Obviously, something's wrong with that piece. It's hard to do that when you give it live. I've lectured a million times live. I can remember none of them. They all start to blend in after a decade, so I can't remember what I talked about last week. Hell, I can't remember last year for sure. When you archive it, it's a utility that then it standardizes things and helps you improve and frees you up for time. Sorry I went off on that tangent, but this is the first time I've actually retroactively went and found some of my own work I had forgotten about, and it helped a student in today's world. So it made me think about that a little deeper. We also show international film, and by the way, we have to be wildly out of time, right? But nobody's making a break for the door, so you just tell me when to stop. Couple more minutes. Okay, I'll float through these quickly. I also used to show live films in a class of 500 or a class of 3,000. Logistically, it's a nightmare. For the first time ever, just 2 Sundays ago, I tried our first experiment at creating an online viewing film community. So I told everybody to go to Netflix at a certain time, get this certain movie, or they could download it for free because they all pirate everything. And I said, okay, at 8:10, everybody click start on this particular movie. We're all going to watch it as a community. And I actually did it before 8:10. I went online live and introduced it, gave them a few facts, things to look for in the film that I knew I was going to test them on later. Then after the film, we came back together as a digital community, and I went video live and answered questions. And suddenly, we had 1,700 people that all did this, synchronous. So we all watched a movie. I was actually typing in notes about the movie in a chat box while they were watching it, and people were chatting back. It was hilarious. And we also encouraged people to watch in groups. So people sent us pictures of them in groups of 5 or 6 or 7 watching a film together somewhere on campus with a pizza. And I said, then take the film quiz together too. And so we did a quiz after all that. It's all an experiment, but it seemed to go pretty good for just even watching a film online. I think that's where these students are. This is the way they consume this media, so I'm just trying to manipulate it into an assignment that they actually learn something from. It seemed to work pretty good. And I think I've actually only got 2 more strategies, so I can run fast. Strategy 5, make them write, but write something so fresh that it can't be faked. And again, this is just examples from my syllabus. I do something called a Twitter assignment. I still think Twitter's kind of goofy, I won't lie. I'm an old person too, and so when I heard about it, I'm like, that's the silliest ass thing I've ever heard of. 140 characters, that you can't possibly do anything academic with that. Aha! Not until I realized that it's not just 140 characters, it's 140 characters at a time. So we have an assignment where students pose as world leaders and have to tweet as them daily and factually. So someone could be the Plaid Avengers Barack Obama or the Plaid Avengers Angela Merkel, and they have to be that person for this semester and say, well, yeah, I'm in Dusseldorf meeting with a student group today, and I'm meeting with somebody else, and they also have to tweet their other cohorts. If the leaders meet in real life, then our fake Twitter leaders have to communicate with each other. So we're building a digital community. And at the end of the semester, I can click on, oh, I'm sorry, that's a form. That's just a standard form. Let me get to this. There we go. With the Twitter assignment, what we're doing is actually creating community, because by the end, I can click on Plaid Putin, and they've only tweeted 140 characters at a time, but they've done it every day for 3 months, and I can see everything they've written. It's basically a 20-page essay, which is what you usually assign to classes, but it's 140 characters at a time. We also do things like creating assignments that have nothing to do with me, but are all about peer-to-peer. So we have something, we have the Twitter assignment I just talked about, but I created this because we have so many international people on campus in my classes about the world. So I started giving people points to interview someone from another country. And I would only kind of tangentially write up a script of, you should ask these questions. It's just a conversation. It's not an interview where you have to ask this, this, and this. But here are some things you can ask about. But ask about whatever you want. They're a student just like you, so what do students talk about? But ask about how it is from their home country. And we gave them instructions on how to do this in an audio booth on campus and record it. So that's the proof. They have to do it. They have to find someone to interview. They have to talk to somebody for half an hour. They have to record it, take a picture of the person and post it. And this is actually a live Google window we have that we put up people's icon based on their hometown across the planet. So that's an assignment we built, and here's how much time I spend grading it. None. Because it's actually a pleasure to listen to them. All I got to do is listen to 2 seconds, and I know they did it, and I could stop there. Because it doesn't matter what happens in the next 30 minutes. It's the fact that they had an experience with another person from another part of the planet. That's what I wanted them to do. I don't even care what they say. But some of them were fantastic. And some people make friends after that. So we're building into this idea of a community at the same time. Can you do that in math class? I doubt it, but I don't know. I mean, everybody has their own specialty. I'm just thinking outside of the box and trying to get people to talk to other people. And I think this may be my last one. Strategy 7 is try and build a community because a community self-polices, can be used to moderate, do peer review, and actually tends to set a higher bar for themselves. And I was talking about our Facebook scandal 3 years ago. Somebody created a Facebook page saying, the answers for John Boyer's tests. It was the name of the Facebook page. Answers to Boyer's test. It had 875 users who signed up. If you don't know this, Facebook's public, as are people's names on it. So it was actually a student, because I try to create a sense of community in the class, that people all know what's going on. I encourage them to do study groups and forums and work together on movies and assignments. So it was a student in the class who actually hit me up. I remember it was about 3 o'clock on an afternoon just like this one, and said, hey, Boyer, I just wanted to let you know, I'm not a snitch or anything, but this is a little questionable because I saw this page and people are sharing answers. And so I went and looked at it, and it indeed was a huge chat room on Facebook saying, hey, did anybody know what the answer to this is when the USSR dissolved? I can't find this. And, oh, the answer for this is definitely Chechnya. And so people were sharing, and I thought it was hilarious. We saw how many users there were. And so I jumped into the room, and I was like, hey, how's everybody doing? This page is hilarious. 875 users. 10 minutes later, there were 575 users. 5 minutes after that, there were 321 users. 10 minutes after that, the users went down. Then I got a phone call from a panicked student going, Professor Boyer, I'm the page moderator. I swear to God, I didn't do it. It was just supposed to be a study group. I didn't tell everybody to share answers. And I'm like, dude, it's cool, it's cool. And then the page disappeared 30 seconds after that. This whole cycle occurred in 20 minutes. From my awareness to its disappearing was 20 minutes. That's what a community does. I did hardly anything. But a community came together, let's call it to share, and a community is the one that then took care of itself. If your students in your class are 30, 300, or 3,000 people that don't know each other and don't talk to each other, that can never happen. The cheating or the stopping of the cheating. So what I'm going to work really hard on in the future is try to create that sense of belonging and engagement that you're a part of something here. And the professor wants us to work together and do stuff, and we can see each other's work, because the other thing that I found in my wine class is that one of the mandatory assignments is you have to write about wine. Go figure. You have to drink wine, but you have to write about it, and you have to do it on a blog. And we make the blogs completely public. And we share all the classes' blog links with each other. And we encourage people to make sure that other people aren't stealing their blog. So that takes care of itself. And here's another funny thing that happens. As soon as we made this public, the level of quality of blog went up. Because people said, holy crap, everybody can see my stuff. I don't want to look like an idiot. Because the teacher's telling everyone to look at everybody else's stuff. I'm like, yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. And I even tell people, here was the best blog for this week. Look how awesome this person did. In other words, that's your example. And sometimes I have said, go look at this blog. Do not do this. I will totally call people out in the digital world. And say, go to this blog and tell me if you think this is worthy of points. Oh, yeah. The quality jumps. And I hadn't thought about it until we did that. And I realized, wow, all of work that all college students do, let's say they write a 50-page paper. Think about all the blood and sweat and work and tears that went in that 50-page paper. How many people see it? One. And at the end of the semester, garbage cans. And what a travesty. I mean, we want students to keep their work and build a portfolio, but they're busy, they're young, they're mature, they're not thinking that far ahead. So I'm trying to design stuff that's permanent. It's like, oh no, you wrote this blog 10 years ago, it's still up, we still got it, you wanna check it out? Here's what you drank 10 years ago when you were in college, and here's what you wrote about it. People have already written me back going, this is great, thank you for making me do that. So self-policing, and again, people do this with Google Documents where students can write in the same document. So even this is not terribly new, but I'm just encouraging it to go further in more avenues. Peer review is great. We call them group projects, which typically are disastrous, but if you craft them right, and maybe even take the word group out of them, then they become something different. Peer-to-peer networking really can raise the standards of work. And again, there's the self-policing aspect. And I'll finish with strategy 8, what the hell, just to encourage them to cheat. By working together and sharing, and you've already heard me talk about this, I tell people, take the quiz with friends. Watch the movie with friends. And I told you people sent me pictures of these dudes got this gigantic pizza on movie night on Sunday. And 4 guys who I dare say, I'm willing to bet a large amount of money that these 4 guys would have never watched an emotional love story from India together and learned from it while eating a local pizza, and they had a great time doing it. Why do I know? Because they told me. And I told them, if you work as a group watching the movie together, then by all means help each other on the quiz, because I'm going to ask some seriously hard questions. So for those that are not going to watch the film, going to do it yourself, going to try to cheat, going to game the system, you won't win. You won't win. Because I've talked about things during the movie or before and after the movie, and you actually had to physically watch the movie because I've asked specific questions you only would have gotten if you were engaged in the damn assignment. If people are doing it as a group, by all means help each other cheat. You've already done what I wanted you to do. Get the 100 instead of the 80. Fine with me. What we've also found is that people from across the campus and the world now send me pictures of me from all over the place. So these are students in the library. In the library, watching a video of me lecture and helping each other on the quiz. And this picture actually was 4 people deep. It was 4 people all watching the same screen and then taking the quiz afterwards. I was emphasizing in the library because I didn't even know we still had one. And I think it's fascinating. Think about the age we live in. People go to the library to watch a video. Library, okay, whatever it takes. I'm all about it. So I had a bunch of other stuff after that, but it will all be in the slideshow that I'll make public. So there are some pros and there are some cons. I will tell you it's quickly. The con is it's a hell of a lot of work. For anybody that is under the delusion that you go online so you don't have to do nothing, yeah, you can go online and do nothing, and your class will suck, and people will run out of it, run away from it. Going online and doing it right is a terrible, huge amount of work, and it doesn't stop. The reason that people love this class so much is not because of the book, maybe because of the content, I hope. But even in a class of 3,000, people feel like they're a part of something and that they're engaged with it. Because they feel like I'm there, that I'm there to communicate with them, which is what education is, the dialectic, that I'm trying to create stuff that pushes them to learn new things in new ways, and that they can do it with their friends, they can do it with me, we're online, we're in this community together, and that's how you kind of create special things. But it's a hell of a lot of work. With that, I will now, since we're a half hour over, I'm sure, an hour, whatever it is, just roll over into the next lecture is fine. I don't care. I can do that.